JIRA is without a doubt the issue tracker that I have used most in my career. It is the go-to tool when I want to have a look at how the project is going, how the testing is going, how um, well to get a picture of the project from a quality and uh, even Scrum Mastery point of view. And I always try to keep an eye out for new apps or for new add-ons that can help me in the testing process. And I came about such an add-on on the marketplace, the Tricentis test management for JIRA by Tricentis, and I want to give it a try. I want to see what it offers. I want to see how easy it is to install, how easy it is to work with, and I also want to have your opinion. I already worked with it, I have an opinion on it, but you need to wait until the end to see all of the actual points which I'm going to say. Now, let's get started. Once you have installed the test management for JIRA from Tricentis, you have it under your apps right here, and it seems to be really structured. That's the first thing that hit me. I mean, it guides you through the whole process or through the structure that a normal test management tool should have. You start out with your requirements. So in case you do not have requirements in your project, you can add requirements and then test cases, execution, and in the end reports. So let's go through all of the processes. On the requirement side, I have here all the requirements that I have created for my test project. And in case I want to create a new one, I can go to either new requirement or I can go to create. In both cases, when I hit create, now create shows me, of course, as you probably know, it shows you the latest issue type that you created. And for this project, I created last time a bug. But if I want to switch it, I can just go here and from instead of issue type, I can just do requirement and you need to enter summary, attachments, and so forth. But of course, all of this can be customized, but this is anyway a really standard and I would say good structure for a requirement. Let's just add another requirement here, requirement 1, and YouTube video should be liked. Okay, we hit create. And the second we hit create, we have our new requirement. Now, in order to see it in the list, we would need to reload this list. And we also have a couple of filters here. Let's see what they do. So we can get all of the requirements, or we can check actually the most important parts. We can check requirements for which we have no tests. And I'm expecting the one that we just created, that is correct, to be here and to have no test. If we go back to all requirements, one of these ones should have tests, but how can I see which ones has a test? Well, if I open the option here, this toggle here, I see that this requirement is covered by this test. Good. So in a normal case, we would have, as I said, all the requirements. We would have a look at the requirements without a test. And in case we have requirements without a test, like here, we just do link test case. Let's see what happens. So we have the possibility of linking test cases, and on the one hand, we can search for a test case, and this shows us all of the tests that we have. Let's link another one. Or in case we have no test case already written for this requirement, we can just create a linked test case. But let's do that in the next segment here. So we cover requirements. What can we see? We see that there's a nice way to create requirements, to see the requirements that don't have test cases, to linkage between requirements and test cases. and to create automatic tests, or to create tests that have an automatic link to a specific requirement. So if we go to the test design, here we have the tests for a project, and if you start off, you will have nothing here under folders. So you have an empty folder here, and this is an interesting thing in the sense that you can add specific folders based on areas of your application and have in those folders the test cases that you will run for those areas. You can do folders and have their tests based on types of tests. So if you're doing functional tests, non-functional tests, you can do that as well. It's up to you. There's not a really rigid form, but to do this, so let your imagination go wild. And let's see, we have their login, and well, since we're doing YouTube, let's do YouTube here. And this number here that you see, this shows the amount of tests that are already in the folder. So in the login folder, I have 6 tests. In the YouTube, I have no tests. And in total, I have 9 tests, with these 3 tests, test number 1, 2, and 3, being not assigned to a specific folder. So in order to assign this to a folder, we can just select the tests and we can say move to folder, and let's move them all to the YouTube folder. And they have all been removed, or moved in this sense. A nice thing here, which I found, is in the creation of test cases. So you can either do it manually, so pressing the button, then you have here the test case, you have the test summary, so as before, and then you have the description. So this is a good way to create tests one after the other. However, there is a way in Tricentis Test Management to import tests. So in case you already have tests that are written, you can import them. And how do you do this import? Well, you simply click on this import test cases. At the moment, they only offer Excel, but who knows, maybe in the future, they will offer another kind of format. But from experience, Excel is the most used, or was the most used format to write test cases. So to do the import, this is really nice. So you have here 2 options. Either you download a template, which Tricentis Test Management had created for you, or you say, well, I already have one, I already got a template, and then you can upload your template and then have a bunch of test cases created right here. And let's see how this goes. So if we would try and upload a file, we would just browse on your computer and then select the file where you have your test cases, and now you're going to have your data validated. Now it may be, as in my case right here, that certain areas of this file do not really match the expected file, or the expected columns, the expected content. It shouldn't really, because this is a dummy file that I created and it's full of ones and zeros. So in such a case, it's nice that we get the info that this could not be imported. And well, we could try again. Let's do here cancel. Now let's just open or download this template and complete or upload the template with some data of our own. So this is how it looks. So you have the summary, description, priority, label, test type, precondition, a folder. So you can already specify a folder in case you already have a folder, step definition, and expected result. Let's just do a really minimalistic. So let's put step 1 and result one, and again, we would save this and then import this, and then we can see how it looks in JIRA and what changes we can do to it. So we have the template now imported, or ready for the import. We hit import, the check is being done again. And now it saw 4 test cases because we had 4 entries there. We hit done. So we have those imported, and let's see. Here they are. So now we have these 4 tests, and let's have a look in them, how or what information they contain. So we give it the name YouTube, number 4, description, YouTube, and I kind of remember we gave it some steps and a step definition, but I don't see it. Now, if we want to see the steps, we just hit this test case panel, and in the panel we see we have step description and expected result, and we can choose to either add a specific step right here. So step 5, result 5, or we can select to do to expand this view and to concentrate only on the writing of the test case, and it's basically more focused, like it says there, expand view is more focused way of creating the tests. And we can add really nice things in the test. So we, on the one hand, we can add attachments. So let's try and do that. So we can add, I don't know, here you would add your screens, maybe a file to check, and it should then be downloadable. So it's here, and if we want to download it, it's the raster test logo. And we can also, so we can clone steps. Cloning steps also clones the attachments. We can move a step up or down. So let's move this one down. So in case we copied the wrong step, we can just move it. You can also drag it. You don't need to do it in such a manual manner. In case you did something wrong, you can always delete it. And you can also really nicely call another test as a step. So in case you have some steps or some tests which you already written and which you want to run here. So you have this one as this test step, and afterwards you can add another step, or let's just clone this one and move it down, and I will just delete or save it, and I will just delete this one here. And if we hit done, we now have the updated view. So we have our test case with our steps. If we go back, so we now covered how we could create requirements, create tests. Now let's go to the part which every tester loves to do, and that is test execution. So in here, in test execution, how does this work? How do you execute your tests? Because this is something which, from experience, I saw people struggling with, especially when they were trying to use Excel, since we're on the topic of Excel for test case management, keeping track of the status of tests or test runs in a historical way was kind of difficult because you needed to add column after column after column, and then reporting on that one was just a mess. So how is this handled with Tricentis test management? Well, it's actually pretty neat. You create so-called test cycles. So this test cycle can be, as I did here in the example, can be a sprint, but it doesn't really have to be a sprint. It can just be, I don't know, YouTube session. and you link this to a specific version and also to a specific time frame. Let's do this in the future. Oh, I need to select the version. And once you have your new cycle created, well, you will want to add some test cases that you want to run. So you have a couple of ways to do this. You can you can add one or multiple tests, or if, for example, you are in this view on the test design view, if you go to YouTube, you can select to run them from here. So we have these 3 tests plus the other ones, and that should be visible in our run here. So how does the test run work? Well, pretty simple actually. So you go into your test and you start to perform the execution. And based on your findings, you can say if the expected result matched the or if the actual result matched the expected result, then mark a specific step as failed, or so failed and passed, or if you have any blockers. If you find any bugs, you can from a specific step add a bug, and will have a link between the test case and the bug. You can add a comment. This is a comment. If I can learn to write it would be good. Or you can also add attachments. And once you have reviewed all of the steps, you can select done and then update the status of the test here. Based on the update that you do, you will also see an update here in the whole execution. Now let's have a look to another one. So again, we have the test steps, and let's just say this one passed, but we can go to the test run details, so we can see a little bit some information, and we see that we have no requirements linked here, but you can of course link it as we saw before from either directly from the test or from the requirements perspective. We have an overview on the defects and on the attachments. And we don't need to go necessarily to the full overview there. We can also say from here that this test is passed. We mark it as done. We are back. We see we have one passed and one failed test. Now we saw requirements, we saw test design, we saw test execution, but there's one other part which is really important when you have a test case management tool, and that is reporting. So what reporting capabilities does Tricentis Test Management offer? Well, in the reports, we have 4 options. So we have the kind of standard test summary. So you see the amount of test cases and the amount of tests. So the test cases that are created and the ones that are executed, you see their evolution. For us, they're kind of linear because, well, we did it in one go. You can, if you have components, you can see them based on components or based on assignee, or you can, of course, see them based on historic, on a historic timestamp. So this is mostly to see, okay, how many tests we created, how many tests were executed. Then you have test metrics. And for the test metrics, so in order to see something here, you need to play around a bit, and you need to, in our case, select this version. You only have one version, and the test metrics are based on our test cycles, as you can see here, and it shows us a summary of our test cycle in a more, let's say, management friendly way. in a better overview. Execution progress, it's similar to our test metrics, but it's more of an overall. Gives the indication if we how the execution looks over time, how many tests we had passed, failed, unexecuted, and also the total number of tests. And we have, on the one hand, based on so the overview from a time perspective and the overview from a priority perspective, but all of the tests that we created were medium, so that doesn't really show us much. But you can, of course, also here make it a little bit more specific by selecting either assignee component or a specific test cycle. And last, but definitely not least, it's, from my point of view, the most important one that we have, and that is the traceability metrics. Now, this one shows us if we have, shows us exactly for which requirements we have tests. And as you can see, we only have requirements, or only have test cases that cover 2 requirements from all of our requirements here. So it's like a 50-50 with 4 requirements, 4 are covered. Sorry, 2 are covered, 2 are not covered. Now, before I say my thoughts about the Tricentis test management, I saw a really nice feature that is not always present for JIRA add-ons, and that is the need help. So in case you are stuck, you can just click on the need help and you have a full manual that will help you continue with designing test cases, executing test cases, and of course they cover a little bit more than what I did here, more than my overview, but also my videos should offer kind of a nice overview of what you can expect from Tricentis test management. And I would say, personally, I would use it. I would give it a go. I mean, it has structure. It integrates really good with JIRA. If you never used JIRA before, you would think, okay, JIRA always had requirements like this, test cases, test execution. It's really fluent, easy to use, easy to understand. It has the import, which I find really nice. I mean, you can, if you already have a project where you have an Excel with 10,000 test cases, you can just import it, then customize it, and then you can, from that point on, work with everything in JIRA. And I would definitely use it. Would you use it? I would say write your topics or write your thoughts in the comments. And you have 30 days, 33 days to try it, to see if it fits your project. And I would say I'll definitely give it a go. I'm still in the 30-day period, but until now it convinced me. So I think I'm going to be using it in the future. And as always, thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one, and bye-bye.